gentlemen, this is Miss Anna Jane Sitton, originally of Carlsbad, New Mexico, and now working in Hollywood as Miss Arlene Dahl's stand-in and secretary. Now, because her work is so glamorous, we wondered where she would travel if given an all-expenses-paid trip. Listen.
Well, first of all, Miss Dahl graciously gave me the time off to make the trip. But the biggest problem was trying to decide on the one place above all others that I'd like to visit. Finally, I decided on the place that so many Hollywood people call their second home, Acapulco, the Sunshine Shangri-La. This is the place that many Hollywood people call the Sunshine Shangri-La. And coming from Hollywood, which has never thought poorly of itself, that's quite a compliment indeed. The important statistics are as follows. Permanent population, about 70,000. Temperature range, 73 degrees to 84 degrees. Acapulco has 23 beaches and over 150 hotels. I flew from Hollywood to Mexico City, where I spent several days with friends, and from Mexico City it's only about an hour by air to Acapulco. At the airport, I was met by an assistant manager of Las Brisas Hilton Hotel, Mr. George Ibarondo. That's part of the airport terminal in the background. We took a Jeep taxi to the hotel, and I was told that, like all guests, I would be greeted by the manager, Mr. Frank Branstetter.
Mr. Branstetter, this is Miss Anna Jane Sitton.
Miss Sitton, nice to have you here. How long are you going to be here with us?
3 weeks.
3 weeks? Well, I'm glad you came down to soak in some of that beautiful Acapulco sunshine of ours. Would you like to register?
The accommodations at Las Brisas are spread out over an entire hillside, so the hotel maintains a fleet of jeeps to take guests to and from their rooms. Unpacking was easy. Friends in Hollywood had told me to take as few things as possible, since I could buy just the right clothes at Acapulco's many fine shops. My room had its own private porch, or lanai, and the view was magnificent. The bellhops at Las Brisas are quite talented. They drive with one hand while carrying a tray in the other. The tray contains courtesy drinks from the management. This private pool also went with the room, and this was really living it up. This pool was slightly, shall I say, larger than mine. It's part of the Pride Americas Hotel, there in the background. One of the biggest attractions here for women tourists is the dress shop of Emmy Fours, one of many brilliant American designers who have literally set up shop in Acapulco.
Hello.
Are you Emmy Fours?
Yes, I am.
I saved my vacation buying because my friends told me of your reputation for carrying the classic Acapulco look.
Well, how nice. I think we have a lot of attractive things we can show you. What did you have in mind that you wanted exactly?
Shorts, bathing suits, slacks.
Wonderful. Well, we have some very attractive things. This is very cute. You see, it has a lined, and it has a bathing suit to go with it here.
I see a set.
Mm-hmm.
That's a wonderful color.
And this is very cute, too. This is all hand embroidered and has shorts that go with it.
Fine. I guess it's only natural, when visiting a place, to seek out some of the most publicized attractions. In Acapulco, everyone knows of the burro that drinks beer and soft drinks and will eat almost anything that's free. His owner is a farmer, and I imagine he saves a lot of money having the tourists feed the burro. But here is Acapulco's most graceful attraction, one of the high divers of La Quebrada, 160 feet to the water in slow motion. This magnificent fresco by the great Diego Rivera, a fresco of a giant serpent, serves as an appropriate introduction to what follows, the exotic and colorful ritual of the flying voladores. The ritual has many phases, all of them based on the ancient Aztec rain god Tlaloc. The worshippers, led by the high priest, climb an enormous pole some 11 stories high. Now begins the dance of death, with the high priest seated on a 20-inch platform. We photographed this in semi-slow motion to illustrate the grace of these flying voladores. Meanwhile, more dancers performed, while these men on a turnwheel pray to the moon god. In the finale of this reenactment, the moon god is given a sacrificial victim, an unmarried maiden. Watching this stunning ritual based on historic fact, I couldn't help thinking that this lovely girl must be mighty glad she's living in the 20th century and not in the days of the Aztecs. There's more to Acapulco than just sunshine and sand. Women especially will find it a shopper's paradise, and some of the best bargains are peddled by street vendors. Here I'm buying a silver bracelet for 120 pesos, or about $10 in our money. I think this is fine, but it's a little big.
Okay, we fix it for you in half an hour.
You can fix it now?
Yes, right now. In 20 minutes it's ready.
20 minutes?
Yes.
Do you make all the things you have here?
Yes. We make it in Acapulco. We make beautiful dresses in 1 hour.
That's amazing. Back at the hotel, I was summoned to the phone in this manner.
Oh,
It's not only a charming custom, but quite effective, especially for people who are hard of hearing.
Right there.
And this was a typical sunset view from my room overlooking the sea. High on a sloping hillside is the beautiful Via Vera Racquet Club, which also has guest rooms. The Via Vera is owned by the fabulous man who has become a living legend in Acapulco circles, the Swiss-born Teddy Stauffer. Teddy holds court daily at poolside. Senor Teddy, I think this is one of the loveliest spots I've seen here in Acapulco.
Thank you very much.
I know you're Swiss. How did you come here?
After the war, I came from California on the Saca with my friend Darrell Flynn. And we had planned to stay here a week, and I'm still here. I loved it.
Is this a private club?
Our hotel guests are automatically members, and beautiful girls like you are members for life.
Thank you very much. At Mr. Stauffer's urging, I availed myself of tennis lessons from the club pro, Miguel Rodriguez. Miguel, I don't know the first thing about tennis. Do you teach beginners?
I don't know, just un poquito.
Sí.
Pero en español, usted parece sí. Ok, para.
See?
Otro
See?
poquito.
I couldn't seem to hit the ball right-handed, and in desperation I tried hitting left-handed, after which Mr. Rodriguez begged me to quit, and that was that. The Acutiki is truly one of Acapulco's most beautiful restaurant clubs, and here I was introduced to Count Gino Rossi, on my left, well known to speed car racing fans, and Mr. Dick Myers, the designer architect of the Acutiki. Count Rossi, are you still auto racing here in Mexico?
Well, I retired in 1957. It was my last race, which was a Pan American race.
Why did you retire?
The car was getting too fast, and I was getting too old.
I don't believe that at all. What brought you to Mexico?
Well, I came here in '39 from Mexico City, and I fell in love with Mexico City, and I've been coming to Acapulco ever since, and fell in love with Acapulco, meeting lots of interesting people. AJ, like yourself, of course.
Well, thank you very much. Dick, I've seen some of the restaurants that you've designed in Los Angeles, and they're marvelous.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very indebted to the people of Los Angeles, and especially to the eye bank, because through this eye bank I was able to regain my sight after being blind for 3.5 years. So actually the restaurants that you are familiar with, I actually designed with someone else's eyes. So, it's very remarkable.
And then you came to Acapulco?
Yes, I came to Acapulco because only in Mexico did I have the freedom to design that I wanted to do the extreme type of things that I prefer. And this is why I came to do the Acutiki.
Before you go any further, what does Acutiki mean, actually?
Well, actually, Aku is the word for fish in the Pacific Islands, and tiki means idol or god, you see. So Acutiki goes with Acapulco. Actually, as you will look around our restaurant, you will see a number of these tikis. The one tiki that I'm quite interested in is the warrior god of Hawaii, which keeps all of the evil spirits away from the restaurant and guards all the people within. The next tiki that you will notice is the tiki of the luau or the fiesta. He's smiling because he's so full and happy. Then we have another interesting one, which is from New Guinea, and he is the water god. It's noted in legend that he is half man and half bird and can go up into the clouds and puncture the clouds with his beak and cause the rain to come down on the crops.
While I was in Acapulco, the yacht club sponsored an international sailboat regatta. This is the manager of the yacht club and a good sailor. Senor Contreras, as manager of the Acapulco Yacht Club, can you tell us something about the regatta that we're going to see today? Is it a national or an international race?
It's an international race.
How many boats compete?
There are 14 boats, 7 on the Mexican team and 7 on the American team. They have a Mexican team wearing blue shirts and the American team wearing yellow shirts.
How long is the race?
It's about 10 miles long.
Is it a straight course?
No, it's a triangle course.
Speaking of sailors, the attractive blonde is one of the best. She is Miss Yuta Weller, the only woman sea captain in Acapulco, and to my knowledge, one of the few in the entire world. And what a small world it really is. Boarding Teddy Stauffer's yacht in order to see the regatta, I met Jane Lynn, a friend from Los Angeles and a leading fashion model. What a surprise to see you here, Jane.
AJ, it's such fun seeing you, and of all places, running into Emmy's shop.
Doesn't she have great clothes? You've modeled for her, haven't you?
Yes, I have. She's a friend of mine from California. She came to Acapulco years ago and has done very well, and she's very important to Acapulco.
I understand that she's Acapulco's most gracious hostess.
She is, and I'm fortunate enough to be her house guest.
Well, the Mexicans won the race, and that evening at the yacht club, Miss Dolores Del Rio presented the winner's trophy.
Un gusto muy, muy grande para mí entregarte este trofeo como capitán del team mexicano. Quiero felicitarte.
Thank you very much.
I paid no attention to the trophy. I kept looking at Miss Del Rio and thinking how beautiful and gracious she is. Finally, midnight in the sunshine Shangri-La. One of the most interesting sidelights of my dream trip to Acapulco was an overnight visit to a nearby fishing village known as La Barra. We'll take a small powerboat to La Barra in part 2 of our journey after this intermission. Inevitably, I got around to a tour of the city by carriage. My companion is Senor Alfredo Berwatua, the Assistant Commissioner of the Tourist Office. Here, we're riding down the main thoroughfare, Alaman Boulevard, and approaching the Zocalo, or City Square. I've always thought of Acapulco as a modern city, a city that was born of the tourist trade. I didn't realize how wrong I was until we came to this old fortress, Fort San Diego. It's massive, it's Spanish, and it reminded me of those swashbuckling pirate films of the late Errol Flynn. Alfredo, when was El Fuerte de San Diego built?
Oh, the Fuerte de San Diego was built in 1776 by the Spaniards. As you can see, it covered most of the bay because they wanted protection against any incoming ships like pirates. They wanted to keep this port because of its importance for ships of their own. And actually you can see how it follows all this coast here. Before, there used to be a lot of water here. It came up right up to the level of the fort and covered most of the water here and the entrance for the pirates, against the pirate ships.
The fort in the bay inspired Alfredo to suggest a visit to the Mexican naval base at Acapulco. Never having been to a naval base, I was glad to accept the invitation.
Commander Borsan, may I present you Miss Anna Jane Sitten from Los Angeles?
It's a real pleasure to meet you. May I invite you to go around to the Navy base?
Thank you, Commander. I'd be delighted.
It's an honor, please.
After touring the base, we boarded one of the warships, and I hope I'm using the right word, but anyway, I felt very self-conscious being the only woman in sight. I'm sure I blushed a deep maroon, but I needn't have, because if any of the men aboard noticed me, they certainly gave no sign of it. Viva la Mexican Navy, gentlemen to the core. Playa La Condesa is one of the morning beaches. That is, it's used only in the mornings. This was my favorite of Acapulco's 23 beaches. This man looked like an apparition out of the sea. My curiosity was soon satisfied.
How about some fresh oysters from the bay, AJ?
I'd love some.
They pick them up right from the bay, right from those rocks.
Out there?
Right up there. We can go and skin dive there after a while.
I'd love to.
Fine, we'll do that later, okay? I'm going to ask him to open a few right in front, okay? Entonces, ábrete unas, por favor.
George Ibarondo, he's the assistant manager of Las Brisas, taught me how to eat oysters Acapulco style, with plenty of lime juice and hot sauce. It's really delicious. We're in a powerboat on the Cayuca River, en route to the small fishing village of La Barra. First, we went by car from Acapulco to the beach known as Pie de la Cuesta. It's on the ocean and also the river, about half an hour from Acapulco. Then, at Pie de la Cuesta, we rented this small boat to go upriver to La Barra, on the tip of the peninsula, where the Cayuca River empties into the Pacific. Despite the modern bridge, La Barra is quite isolated, and life is primitive by our standards. There is no electricity, and therefore no washing machines. Consequently, every day is wash day in La Barra, and although it's only an hour and a half from Acapulco, many of these people had never seen Acapulco. The river is their only source of fresh water. La Barra doesn't have water lines or plumbing. Shark fishing and spearing is the main industry of the few dozen men of the village. To get the shark bait, however, they first fish the Cayuca for small fish. And you know, there's sheer poetry in the way they toss the net, as this slow motion scene indicates. We watch to see the result. Just one small fish. This small fish is then used as ocean bait for a slightly larger fish, and the larger ocean fish is used as bait for the sharks. We watched for more than an hour, and not a single shark was caught. But this sunset scene alone was worth the trip. We stayed overnight to watch La Barra celebrate the festival of St. Guadalupe. This is the Virgin of Guadalupe Day throughout Mexico. The festival was a small affair, but our hearts went out to these people, for they did the best they could. 2 small dugouts, gaily decorated, and carrying all of the children of the village. This girl portrays the Virgin of Guadalupe. After the floats had been pulled ashore, the villagers carried the young girl on a procession through the village streets. Back in Acapulco that same morning, the church in the Zocalo attracted inhabitants from near and far. Many of these children lived miles away from Acapulco, yet they walked all the way to the city to be a part of this important and colorful day. I guess you'd call this getting literally carried away. My third and last week in Acapulco was really the vacation week. By now, I had seen most, if not all, of the interesting tourist attractions, and I had met dozens of Acapulco's most interesting people and characters. Now, before returning to my desk and typewriter, I decided to just relax and soak up the sun. I swam, paddled around the bay, yes, and even went horseback riding at the edge of the surf. But most of all, I just sat around the beach and watched the activity, some of it quite interesting. Here, for example, was a camera unit from New York taking fashion magazine pictures of a lovely girl modeling a new swimsuit. In Acapulco, there's a strong local feeling that the beaches belong to everyone, even an outdoor salesman. Here, as calm as you please, was a serape salesman spreading his wares on the sand. Back home in New Mexico, we're accustomed to our own Indian serapes, but I had to admit that these were as lovely as any I'd ever seen. Is it made by hand? ¿Son hechos a mano?
Sí, son hechos a mano. Pura lana.
Ah. ¿Dónde son hechos? ¿En Acapulco?
No, en Xochimilco.
Oh, made in Xochimilco.
Sí.
I see. Muy bonita.
Thank you.
In Acapulco, the visitor is invited to get into the swing of things. And in this case, there's no pun intended. I was actually drafted into this parade of school children. And when I protested that I didn't know how to drum, the school principal said, "That's all right, nobody will know the difference." I felt terribly foolish, but oddly enough, none of the children laughed. I guess they're used to it by now. Much too soon, the 3 weeks came to an end. And looking back, all I can say is, Acapulco, I love you. You are indeed the Sunshine Shangri-La.